All right. Hello, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. We're doing something a little different. I'm adding some fascinating topics to my channel, and I hope you will consider being part of the cool clubs as we are now decoding the Luciferian system. I've been studying this for quite some time. These are all my thoughts, my ideas, and what I've come up with after doing an extensive amount of research. So today we're going to expose the darkness. The darkness in the state of South Carolina. What do I mean by that? Well, the as I'm sure you all know, the Luciferian system and the elite communicate through symbols. I was going to say symbolatry, but I changed my mind halfway through that word. So, as you know, they communicate through symbols. Symbols speak volumes. They work with our subconscious mind. They work in the realm of the psychological, I think connected to what would be considered Jungian archetypal type of symbolatry. It definitely works with satanic images, and by that I mean false gods and goddesses. And we see that on the symbol of South Carolina. So let me see. I want to make sure you guys can see this. I'm adding that to the stage. This is, of course, the symbol for South Carolina. You usually see it in the blue. Okay, so let me see if I can get that up there for you. Okay, please bear with me as I'm figuring this out. Okay. Well, anyway, you usually see it in this blue image. And I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about it. I'm sure if you're from South Carolina or if you just enjoy studying about the state's history and that type of thing, if you're doing any kind of research outside what would be considered outside the box, outside the norm, you're probably at a point where you're just not buying what you're told. Like many of us, we're truthers. We just want the truth. What we know is what we were taught isn't the truth. There's more to the story, or there's completely different stories. We don't know exactly what's being hidden, what's being suppressed, but for sure, there's more to the story. So I suggest you, like me, start doing your own research and making your own videos and getting out the pieces of the puzzle that you investigate. Because if we don't seek the truth, ourselves we're doomed to believe what people tell us to believe. So it's like, I really love you guys, and I thank you for joining me today. So we're doing the seal of South Carolina. My name's Chevy Cool Lady. Please like, subscribe, comment, consider supporting my research. The Great Seal of the state of South Carolina was adopted in 1776. South Carolina seal is made up of two elliptical areas linked by branches of the palmetto tree. The image on the left is dominated by a tall palmetto tree and an oak tree, fallen and broken. And this, we're told, represents the battle fought on June 28, 1776, between the defenders of the unfinished fort on Sullivan's Island and the British fleet. The standing palmetto represents the victorious defenders, we're told, and the fallen oak is the British fleet. I found some very interesting information. I think that you'll consider it eye-opening. I certainly did. But let me go ahead and explain what Wikipedia had to say so that we can debunk it together. All right, then. Thanks for joining me, guys. Okay. So this is what we're told. Banded together on the palmetto with the motto, and please forgive, my Latin is a little rusty, quis separabit, which means who will separate us. Again, I think that means a lot more than what it seems. We'll discuss that, so please stay with me until the end so there's no misunderstanding and we can get some more information out there. Like I said, these are my thoughts and what I've come up with, and I'd love for somebody else to tell me what they think. Okay, so there's 12 spheres that represent the other original 12 states of the Union. Isn't that convenient, guys? All right. Beneath that is scrolled another alternate state motto, Meliorum Lapsa Lacavit, which means having fallen, she has set up a better one, with the date of 1776. We're going to find that these dates are also symbolic, and we'll go over that too. Surrounding the image at the top is South Carolina, and below is Animus Opusci Porati, which means prepared in mind and resources. South Carolina is a very important state. We're going to find out. The other image on the seal depicts the Roman goddess, we're told, is Spes, S-P-E-S, walking along a shore that is littered with weapons. The goddess grasps a branch of laurel as the sun rises behind her, and below her image is the name Spes, Latin for hope. And over the image is the motto Dum Spiro Spiro, meaning while I breathe, I hope. Okay, so now the full achievement of the state, we're told in the narrative in Wikipedia, is adopted soon after the seal and consists of the arms above, along with a personification of liberty, holding a Phrygian cap. Does the name Phrygian ring a bell? It might if you did a decode of the 24 Olympics. You'll find that the very mascot was this Phrygian cap, a little red cap, a little floppy type of a hat that has a lot of symbolatry behind it. We'll discuss that too. So anyway, she's holding that and a laurel wreath on the left, as well as the Continental Soldier on the right as supporters. Above the shield, a personification of fame goes from liberty to the soldier. Okay, so what we're talking about here, let me just show you a few more pictures here. Okay, so let's see if I can just hold this up for you guys to see. I don't know if you can see that. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I have just a little technical difficulty. I'm not going to try that again. Let's see if we can pull this information up for you here. Okay, so I'm going to pull up another page for you here. Which is, let's see, I think it, okay. think I got it now. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so now we're going to do okay, we're going to read about spes. All right. Okay, so spes. Okay, so spes was worshipped as a goddess in ancient Rome. Um, there are numerous temples to spes. The word, like I said, means hope. Now, this is what we found out um, relates uh, to a lot more. Basically, okay, so these inscriptions basically indicate she received private devotion as well as state cult. Uh, During the Republic, a temple to ancient hope was supposed to have been located near the Praenestine Gate. It's associated with events that occurred in the 5th century, but its existence is anything except perhaps a private shrine has been doubted. So, why is this on the South Carolina flag? We also are going to take a look at a temple that's devoted to her. Okay, so we saw that the Great Seal of South Carolina was set or affixed um, to the Ordinance of Secession of December 20th, 1860. Okay, so that's when they decided that this will be the seal for the state. Now, there was a convention of delegates who signed it, including the name Robert Barnwell Rhett. As some 3,000 Carolinas watched enthusiastically the proclamation of South Carolina as a separate and independent nationality. Okay, so this is pretty interesting here. On the right of the oval, let me go back to this. Let's see. We're going to go ahead and pull up the image here for you. Okay, so here's the image, all right. We have the two elliptical disc supported by the gold frame South Carolina. A lot of states have the South Carolina, North Carolina, or whatever, the state written on the outside ring. What this represents in the system, basically, this third ring is where this basically spiritual realm is. It's where there's an interfacing between the spiritual and the physical world, and where things are placed in the center basically denotes what types of contracts are made with what particular gods with a small g. I have, this is basically what I've come up with. This is the area where Apollon would be located. At the top, the main military warring demonic deity, Apollon. The South Carolina actually has a lot to do with Apollon. And I'll go on and explain why I think so. What basically what we're looking at is, I believe, because we're on the water, there's a huge universal contract with Leviathan, donated by this space. Leviathan would be located in where the 6 would be. If you looked at this like a clock, 12 o'clock would be Apollyon, and 6 o'clock would be where Leviathan would be. Um, okay, so what we're going to see, the way that I looked at it is I actually took these 2 separate images apart. I think that there's 2 separate types of leaves, and I'll go over what I think it is, but I think it just denotes, it possibly denotes the priestess system. And we'll see here shortly that the Order of the Golden Dawn is highly relevant in the Carolinas, especially in South Carolina. And I believe there may be priestess training connected with the, of course, Order of the Eastern Star. But we'll talk about these 2 different types of greenery here in just a moment. So this is basically how it's set up. It's set up like a clock, and the principalities are basically denoted going from the 12 o'clock to basically 1 o'clock would be Baal. About here, more or less, is Moloch. Then after that would be Baphomet. Leviathan's down here. Azazel. Toph is located around the 3 or around the 9 o'clock position. Samael would be here. Then we're back to Apollyon. So the way that it works, as I understand it, is basically there's different contracts, and you can tell when you look at the seal. Here's some contracts possibly with Leviathan, and then at the top with the military being Apollon. So we've got the waterways and the military, possibly the airways covered with these contracts. I've gone ahead and taken these seals in 2 separate arrangements. So let's go ahead and look at, let me just pull it up here. We're going to just look for Spiro. Spiro. Okay, so that's what's written on the one. So we're going to see that means while I breathe, I hope. We're told that it means I am hopeful for the future. Denoting this proverb is a reminder that even in difficult times, we should never lose hope. No matter how bad things seem, we can always hope for a better future. Okay, so that is on the Spess. I'm just going to see if I can find a good image for her for you guys to look at here. Okay. Okay, so now we're just going to remove that one, and we're going to, whoops. All right, I'm pulling it up for you guys here. All right, so here she is. Spess, the word for hope, found on the right oval on the South Carolina flag. She's also known as Mercury. The Mercury declared that by the South Carolina had recorded herself before the universe. In reverence before God, we're told, fearless of man, unawed by power, unterrified by clamor, she has cut the Gordian know of the colonial dependence upon the North. Okay, so they're basically giving her all honor and praise, saying that because of her, South Carolina is independent of the North. Cast her fortune upon her right, and on her own right arm, because we know we're dependent, if you're Christian, on the right arm of God. So here on her right arm, we see there's also a little flower. Okay, so she saved herself by her own right arm. See how wicked that is? And stands ready to uphold alike her independence and her dignity before the world. Prescribing to none, she will be dictated to by none. Willing for peace, she is ready for war. Depreciating blood, she is willing to shed it. Valuing her liberties, she will maintain them, neither swerved by the frown of foes, nor swayed by the timorous solicitations of friends. She will pursue her direct path and establish for herself and for her posterity her rights, her liberties, her institutions. Though friends may fail her in need, though cannon of her enemies this model encapsulates, encapsulates the spirit of South Carolinians, we're told, who never give up hope, no matter how difficult a situation may seem. It reflects their resilience and determination to overcome any challenge. And that just sounds like a bunch of crap to me. This is simulacrum. This is a deity that we're giving worship and homage to in the state flag. Some call her Spess, but we know who she is. She hasn't changed who she is. That is, the one that they call the Queen of Heaven, Astra. Some things never change. Only the name changed. The deities are the same as they always were. There's principalities, powers, and rulers of darkness in this present age. And unfortunately, the leaders of our fine country have given honor, worship, and power and signed contracts to demonic forces. And these things are displayed openly before our eyes in the state seal and the state flag. The South Carolina motto speaks very plainly of this. Here she is in many different forms. Okay, so we're told, I'll go ahead and continue with Spess because it gets pretty deep. But we're going to go quickly to the other side, though. We're going to look at the Animus Abiscu Karate. We're going to look at the other side of the seal that has the palm tree on it, okay? Alrighty. Back to the seal. Here we go. And we're going to look at the let's see, the principal designers of the seal, but we're going to talk a little bit about the animus. Animus opibusque. The bus. Parati meaning. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. Prepared in mind and resources. Okay, so what we have where the palm tree is on the left, animus, your guess is as good as mine. Opabuski, parati, which means prepared in mind and resources. Okay, so here's our little seal. Okay, we're going to talk about this side of the seal. Okay. This motto reflects the state's readiness to defend itself against any threat, whether it be natural disaster or hostile attacks. I found this ended up being quite interesting. So let me pull that up if I may. Okay, so we're taking a look here at this palm tree. Let's see if I can get it a little better for you. Okay, so I told you, these, we were told, I should say, that these arrow heads were representing the 12 colonies, and here's a ribbon conveniently tied across. Well, first of all, we'll talk about the ribbon. Okay, as I told you, these denote where demonic powers are. I'm assuming that we're just going to work with this one circle, and so you figure. I'm just going to look at it quick. This is probably a contract with, this is about where Toph is. So Azazel's about right here. So I'm figuring this is a contract that goes through to Azazel to Baphomet. All this water is showing me that there's an underwater and possibly an underground military training. We see what we're told is a fallen oak. Well, in my research, we know that the oak represents, and especially in Freemasonry, the Druids and the older type of military training that is probably going on. This to me would be underground, and this would show there's probably, because that reminds me of the fascists, the unexplained, to me not fully explained anyway, symbolatry that's on the presidential seal and that type of thing, the symbol of power and of the might to back up the power. I believe there might be an underwater military training base due to what I'm looking at here. The contract, of course, with Leviathan, then going over to Toph. and to Moloch. So there's possibly even children training young people involved here. I looked up also the meaning for the dates on, they look like coconuts, but they're actually metals, and the palm, okay? Uh, I would say that middle line would be representing then the contract with Astra, because she's normally represented right here in the center, but because we have these two ovals, this is what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking this is the contract with her and the land. Now you see she's standing on the beach, and there's fallen weapons here. I also had some ideas about that. Um, the shore is littered with weapons. The goddess grasps a branch of laurel as the sun rises behind her. The sun rising behind her to me represents the Order of the Golden Dawn, as that's how it's usually portrayed, just like that. To me, that would say, it's also probably telling you where it's located. Below her is the name Spes, the name for hope. Okay, then on this side, again, on the lower, under the lower right, okay, so under the Druid military training, equipped with weaponry, a state of goddess worship, palm bears edible fruit called, okay, so talking about this edible fruit off a palm is a date. We see dates right here, okay? We see July and we see March. We see both dates. We see March 26th, and if you take that, January, February, March, and convert it to numbers, so 3/26, and July 4th is the other one, 7/4. By some crazy coincidence, both of those numbers equal to the number 11. Okay, 11 is often used in the occult as a symbol for a doorway, a door. It can also represent the two Masonic poles, Jacobum and Bayos, I can't remember, something like that. The two Masonic poles, like you always see that, the doorway, the entrance, 11, 11, two doorways perhaps, the fruit of the tree, the military training, the demonic contracts, the fruit of the palm or the dates, a connection with Janus or Apollyon. It's very interesting. Ribbon contracts, underground training. That's what I see in my field of reference. So now here's some questions. So when we see these two specific ovals, both of these could represent line contracts between Apollyon and Leviathan. They could also, because of the shorter part of it, would be then Astra. So there's contracts with Astra. Leviathan, I would think, is the controlling influence here. Both of these symbols show water contracts with Leviathan, and they better, because we're sitting right here on the water. I don't say they better, but from the ungodly point of view. They better. The palm and the goddess Bes are straight line contracts. The priestess in the eastern part of the state. I figured this was probably some showing that there'd be priestess training on the east of the state. Underground military in the western part of the state. There's the mountains, mountainous areas, the areas that probably have more resources. And it certainly has some weird history as well. Spess is walking on the weapons. I did come up with something with that too. And I can't remember if the weapons represent the Knights of Pythias. They represent one of the Masonic knighthoods. So prepared in mind and resources, and ready with minds and means. May mean quite a lot more than what we thought it would meant. Okay, so we're still looking at the state. Seal, South Carolina. We're decoding this as far as the research that I've been able to find concerning the Luciferian system. We've seen these things. Spess has cult following. Of course, she's represented in many ways. She's also known as Diana. She's also known as Isis. She is connected to temples, and this is a temple right here that I'm pointing at. Okay, sorry, I lost these guys. All right, so I'm going to show you a temple devoted here to, this is a story that came up that I found interesting. Okay, so while I'm doing my research, sometimes it takes you into some interesting places. And one of the places it took me in this story is into this particular temple, which is actually 3 temples. It's made from ancient temples. The 3 temples are partially visible and having been incorporated into the Church of St. Nicola in Carcer, while the 4th was identified by digging in the neighboring area. I'm going to tie this together with South Carolina, so just stay tuned with me. Stay with me, guys. I appreciate you. In the immediate adjacent area along the river, there was the Tiber port with its warehouses. Ancient sources mention Forum Olitorum, the ancient herb market near Tiber. The 4 temples in the Republican age are dedicated to Hope. Remember Spes, Juno Sospita, Janus, and Peter. So this particular temple is connected to both Janus, the god of war, and Spes, the goddess of hope. The southern temple, because I told you it's made out of 4 temples, is also a Dorcic order, also dedicated to hope. The temple in the center between the 2 temples is the current Catholic Church of St. Nicola. We have a lot going on in this place here. And the temple, the iconic temple, the northernmost of the 3 that were formerly in Forum Halitorium, the vegetable market. So this was all center of the vegetable market there in Italy. Okay. What does this have to do? Well, there's a story about St. Nicholas in prison. this particular story does have something to do with South Carolina. We're also going to find out that Spess may have also appeared as Our Lady of Guadalupe. All right, so let me show you this. This is okay, so we talked about the cap. Okay, so the cap is related to Dionysus. Remember, Spess was holding the cap. We saw Dionysus also in the 24 Olympics. Okay, so Dionysus was known as Bacchus, the ancient Greek god of wine, vegetation, pleasure, festivity, madness, and wild frenzy. Okay. We saw him rear his weird little self at the Summer Olympics. Okay, so there he is there. Remember all that with the mockery of the Last Supper, this thing trying to imitate Christ. It was just horrible. But yeah, all that had something to do with it. All had to do with this hat that is on the South Carolina flag. While I breathe, I hope. It's so connected with the ancient gods and goddesses. It's crazy. Okay, so let me see if I can find this. South Carolina. Okay, we're going to tie this back to the Joel. Okay, if I can. Let me think what it's called. Okay, so the I don't know if you can. It doesn't seem like you can see things when I hold it up. So I'll try to pull this up here. Okay. Okay. Now, this is what I was referring to. You may have seen this in recent times. Jesse Zabota did a whole decode on this. And this part of the snake is actually representing South Carolina. You see the SC, the tail of the join or die snake. It does represent also and connected to the Knights of Malta. So again, we see a military knighthood represented by symbols in South Carolina, represented by the flags that we've seen. while I breathe, I hope. And we see how that's connected with actually having the resources. We've seen the connection between spouse, uh, the the Mary of Guadalupe, perhaps represented, and in even the transition from the temples of South to Christian religion. Nothing against Catholics. I love Catholic people, but there are parts of the symbols that are concerning. This is about connections, connecting the dots, and decoding decoding the system. Thank you guys for joining me. This is some interesting stuff, and when I find out some more, I'll let you know. I did also do Conway, so I'll bring that to you guys tomorrow. If you'd like me to do your state to the best of my ability, and I'm not saying it's going to be 100% correct, but I'll let you know what I think. Um, please let me know in the comments, and I will definitely take that to consider for an episode. I thank you and appreciate you so much. Please like, subscribe, share, and all that stuff. And keep seeking the truth, guys. Love you. Take care.